In the bustling city of Ibadan, there lived a 14-year-old girl named Clara. She was bright, ambitious, and lived with her mother, Evelyn, and her aunt, Grace, in a small, cozy one-room apartment. Despite their humble living conditions, their home was filled with love and dreams of a better future. Welcome to AfroTales TV, your home for rich, exciting, and inspiring stories from around the world. Today's story will touch your heart and keep you hooked till the very end. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss any of our amazing stories. Clara had just started her first year of senior secondary school. Her mother, Evelyn, ran a small shop and had worked tirelessly to save up enough money to send Clara to a reputable private school in the city. Evelyn believed in the power of education and was determined to give her daughter every opportunity to succeed, even if it meant sacrificing her own comfort. On Clara's first day at her new school, she was both nervous and excited. She wore her freshly ironed uniform and carried her books with pride. As she stepped into the classroom, she felt a mixture of awe and apprehension. The students seemed different from her. They wore polished shoes, spoke with confidence, and carried an air of privilege. Trying to make friends, Clara introduced herself. "Hi, I'm Clara," she said, smiling warmly. One of the students, a boy with an expensive wristwatch, smirked and asked, "Who are your parents? Are they rich?" Clara hesitated, then answered truthfully, "My dad passed away, and my mom runs a small shop." The boy scoffed, and some of the others laughed. "Looks like someone doesn't belong here," another student whispered loudly. Clara's excitement quickly turned to sadness. She spent the rest of the day focused on her studies, ignoring the whispers and stares, but her heart was heavy. As soon as the school day ended, she rushed home, eager to confide in her family. "Mom, Aunt Grace, today was really hard," Clara said, her voice trembling. "The kids at school teased me because we're not rich." Evelyn pulled Clara into a comforting hug. "Clara, don't let their words discourage you. You are smart, hardworking, and capable of achieving great things. Your worth is not determined by what others say or by money." Grace nodded, her voice firm. "Exactly, Clara. Keep your head up and focus on your goals. Education is your key to a brighter future. Don't let anyone make you feel small." Encouraged by their words, Clara wiped her tears and nodded resolutely. She promised herself that she would rise above the negativity and make the most of the opportunity her mother had worked so hard to provide. From that day on, Clara began her journey toward success, determined to prove to herself and the world that she belonged, no matter her background. With her family's unwavering love and support, she knew she could overcome any obstacle in her path. The next morning, Clara woke up with renewed determination. Despite the whispers and judgment from her classmates, she reminded herself of her mother's sacrifices and the importance of her education. With her books in hand, she walked to school while other students arrived in shiny cars, their drivers opening the doors for them. As she neared the school gate, Clara noticed a girl about her age stepping out of an elegant black car. Her mother waved her off with a smile before the car drove away. Something about the girl caught Clara's attention, a sense of familiarity she couldn't quite place. In class, Clara found out the girl's name was Beatrice, and she was seated a few desks away. Hoping to make a connection, Clara mustered the courage to introduce herself. "Hi, I'm Clara," she said, offering a friendly smile. Beatrice turned to her with a smirk. "Oh, I've heard about you," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "We're not exactly on the same level, so let's not pretend to be friends." Before Clara could respond, two girls, Sophia and Ruth, joined Beatrice, laughing and mocking her. "Look at her shoes," Sophia said with a sneer. "She's definitely in the wrong school." Though their words stung, Clara kept her composure and quietly returned to her seat. She told herself she wasn't going to let them ruin her day. A little while later, another girl named Martha approached her. Martha had overheard the exchange and felt compelled to speak up. "I'm so sorry about what Beatrice and her friends said," Martha said kindly. "They're rude to everyone they think is beneath them. Don't take it personally." Clara smiled, grateful for the kindness. "Thank you. It's okay. I'm not here to impress them. I just want to focus on my studies." From that moment, Clara and Martha became fast friends. They spent the rest of the day chatting during breaks, sharing stories and laughing together. For the first time since starting at the new school, Clara felt like she belonged. At the end of the day, Martha waved goodbye as she climbed into her father's car. Clara, meanwhile, walked home, her spirits lifted despite everything. On her way, she spotted Beatrice in the back seat of another sleek car. Beatrice glanced at Clara through the window, her expression one of disdain. But Clara didn't let it bother her. She had a new friend in Martha, and that was all that mattered. When she got home, Clara eagerly shared the day's events with her mother and Aunt Grace. "I met a nice girl named Martha," she said, smiling. "She was so kind to me. But there was another girl, Beatrice, who said some mean things again." Evelyn placed a comforting hand on Clara's shoulder. "Not everyone will understand your worth, Clara. But what matters is how you see yourself. Stay focused and kind, and the right people will see the good in you." Grace chimed in. "Martha sounds like a good friend. Stick with her and don't let Beatrice's words discourage you." As they gathered for dinner, Clara felt a warmth in her heart. She had her family's love and a newfound friendship to support her. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she felt ready to face them with courage and determination. Despite Clara's efforts to avoid Beatrice, fate seemed to have other plans. Each encounter with Beatrice brought a fresh wave of insults and cruel remarks, leaving Clara feeling defeated. Even Martha's attempts to stand up for Clara made little difference. Beatrice was steadfast in her spoiled and dismissive behavior. Beatrice's friends, Sophia and Ruth, supported her every move, eager to remain in her good graces because of her family's wealth. Clara couldn't understand why someone could be so mean, but she resolved to rise above the negativity and focus on her education. One morning, Clara arrived at school with a heavy heart. She had misplaced the money her mother had painstakingly saved for her school fees. Clara searched everywhere but couldn't find it. Sitting alone in a corner, her eyes filled with tears, she felt overwhelmed and defeated. As Mrs. Gloria, Beatrice's mother, dropped her daughter off at school, she noticed Clara's distress. Ignoring Beatrice's protests, Mrs. Gloria approached Clara with concern. "Good morning, dear," Mrs. Gloria said kindly. "What's wrong? Why are you sitting here all alone?" Clara hesitated, but eventually she opened up. "Good morning, Ma. I lost the money my mum gave me for my fees," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't know how to tell her because she doesn't have more to give me, and without paying, I can't take today's test." Mrs. Gloria's heart went out to Clara. Without a second thought, she took her to the school office and paid the fees herself. Clara was overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you so much, Ma," Clara said, hugging Mrs. Gloria tightly. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't have to," Mrs. Gloria said with a warm smile. "Just focus on your studies and make your mother proud." Later, during class, Clara approached Beatrice to thank her mother for her kindness, but instead of understanding, Clara was met with anger. "How dare you crawl to my mum for help, you beggar?" Beatrice snapped, pushing Clara aside. "Stay away from me and my family." Heartbroken, Clara quietly returned to her seat. During lunch, Martha found her sitting alone and tried to comfort her. "Don't let Beatrice's words hurt you," Martha said gently. "Focus on the kindness Mrs. Gloria showed you. Not everyone is like her daughter." Clara nodded, grateful for Martha's support, but the pain still lingered. When Clara got home, her mother immediately noticed her quiet demeanor. "Clara, what's wrong?" Evelyn asked with concern. Clara hesitated before pouring out her heart, recounting how she had lost the money, Mrs. Gloria's generous act, and Beatrice's cruel reaction. Evelyn listened with a heavy heart, feeling her daughter's pain. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that," Evelyn said, pulling Clara into a hug. "But remember, your worth isn't defined by what others think of you. You're strong, kind, and intelligent. Don't let Beatrice's words make you doubt yourself." Her mother's encouragement gave Clara the strength to hold her head high. She resolved to focus on the positive and continue working toward her dreams, no matter what challenges lay ahead. The next day, excitement buzzed through the classroom as Mr. Johnson, the senior math teacher, walked in with a stack of papers in hand. "Settle down, everyone," he said. "It's time for your test." Clara's heart raced as she adjusted her seat, ready to tackle the challenge. She had studied hard, determined to make her mother proud. As the test began, Clara focused intensely, her pencil moving swiftly across the paper. In just 5 minutes, she stood up confidently and handed her paper to Mr. Johnson, surprising her classmates. Mr. Johnson scanned her work briefly and smiled. "Well done, Clara," he said, impressed. "You can step outside for now." Clara left the classroom, feeling proud of herself. Meanwhile, Beatrice and her friends, Sophia and Ruth, glared at her with jealousy burning in their eyes. Later, in the cafeteria, Beatrice fumed as she vented to her friends. "Who does she think she is?" she spat. "Acting like she's smarter than everyone else." Sophia and Ruth nodded in agreement, eager to support Beatrice's anger. "We'll show her," Sophia said with a smirk. The next morning, Clara arrived at school early and decided to grab a quick breakfast in the cafeteria. Unbeknownst to her, Beatrice and her friends sneaked into the classroom with malicious intent. They rummaged through Clara's bag, pulling out her test books and assignments. Laughing wickedly, they dumped the books into a nearby trash bin, hoping to ruin Clara's chances of success. However, Mercy, who had arrived early, saw everything. Quietly, she waited for the girls to leave before retrieving Clara's books from the bin. She carefully placed them back in Clara's bag, determined not to let Beatrice's cruelty succeed. Later that day, Mr. Johnson called for book submissions. Clara confidently handed in all her assignments, much to Beatrice's shock. "How is that possible?" Beatrice whispered angrily to Sophia. "I saw her books in the trash." Sophia shrugged, equally confused. Beatrice's frustration deepened, and she began to suspect that Clara possessed some kind of special power that always seemed to protect her. After class, Mercy confronted Beatrice near the lockers. "Don't ever try to hurt Clara again," she warned firmly. "If you do, I won't stand by and watch." Beatrice's smirk faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. "You don't scare me, Mercy," she said defiantly, walking away. When Clara approached, curious about the tense exchange, Mercy explained everything. Clara was shocked but immensely grateful for Mercy's help. "Thank you so much," Clara said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I don't know what I would have done without you." "Don't mention it," Mercy replied with a smile. "Just keep being yourself. They can't stand that you're better than their nonsense." Clara nodded, but a sense of unease lingered. She knew Beatrice wouldn't give up so easily, but she also knew she wasn't alone in this fight. With Mercy's friendship and her family's support, Clara felt stronger and more determined than ever to face whatever challenges came her way. Each day her confidence grew, and her resolve to rise above the bullying became unshakable. Clara was ready to prove that kindness, hard work, and resilience would always triumph over cruelty. Weeks turned into months, and Clara's dedication to her studies continued to shine. She earned praise from her teachers and made her mother, Evelyn, and Aunt Grace incredibly proud. Despite her success, Clara still tried to extend kindness to Beatrice, hoping to mend their fractured relationship. However, Beatrice remained cold and distant, her hostility unyielding. At home, Beatrice's resentment toward Clara boiled over during a family dinner. "She's always acting like she's better than everyone," Beatrice complained to her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Carter. "Even the teachers are on her side." Mrs. Carter sighed, trying to keep the peace. "Beatrice, maybe you should focus on your own studies instead of worrying about Clara. She's doing well because she works hard." "That's not the point," Beatrice retorted, her frustration growing. "And why did you help her pay her fees, Mum? That wasn't fair to me." Curious, Mr. Carter asked for more details. Mrs. Carter explained how she had stepped in to help Clara when she'd lost her school fees, seeing it as an act of kindness. "Helping someone in need is the right thing to do," Mr. Carter said firmly. "Beatrice, you need to learn compassion. This bitterness isn't good for you." But Beatrice crossed her arms, refusing to listen. "I don't want to hear it. Don't help her again, Mum." Mrs. Carter frowned but decided to let the conversation rest. The next day at school, Beatrice arrived with colorful birthday invitation cards, distributing them to everyone in the class, except for Clara and Mercy. While Mercy shrugged it off, uninterested, Clara couldn't hide the sting of exclusion. Later during lunch, Clara confided in Mercy. "You know, it's my birthday too," she said quietly. "I thought maybe if I went to her party we could celebrate together and finally get along." Mercy looked at Clara with concern. "Clara, I don't think that's a good idea. Beatrice doesn't deserve your kindness right now, and she might embarrass you if you go." Clara nodded but still felt a pang of sadness. She had always longed to be included and to bridge the gap between herself and Beatrice. At home, Clara shared her feelings with Aunt Grace. She told her about being excluded from Beatrice's party and how it hurt to be treated that way, especially on her own birthday. Aunt Grace listened carefully, then spoke with gentle wisdom. "Clara, my dear, some people act out of their own insecurities. It's not about you, it's about how they feel inside. But remember, their actions don't define you. One day you'll have your own celebration, and it'll be surrounded by people who love and value you for who you are." Clara nodded, her eyes shining with emotion. Aunt Grace's words comforted her, even though the ache of being left out still lingered. Deep down, Clara knew that kindness, resilience, and focusing on her goals were the best ways to move forward. That evening, as the family gathered to celebrate Clara's birthday with a small homemade cake and warm hugs, Clara felt a sense of gratitude. She might not have been invited to Beatrice's party, but she had something far more meaningful: the unconditional love and support of her family. With renewed strength, Clara resolved to keep her head high and stay true to herself. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she knew she could face them with courage and grace. As the first term exams approached, the school buzzed with anticipation. Clara, like her classmates, threw herself into preparation, determined to excel. Her dedication paid off, and when the exams concluded, Clara's outstanding performance earned her praise from teachers and respect from many of her peers. However, Clara couldn't ignore the looming date of November 30th, a bittersweet day, as it marked the shared birthday of both her and Beatrice. While Beatrice anticipated a grand party at her parents' mansion, Clara knew her celebration would be simple and intimate. Still, the thought of being excluded from Beatrice's festivities lingered in her mind. On the big day, Beatrice dazzled in a sparkling princess gown as her friends gathered to celebrate. The mansion was alive with laughter, music, and extravagant decorations. Guests danced under the glow of fairy lights and indulged in a feast fit for royalty. Meanwhile, Clara sat quietly at home, feeling the sting of exclusion. Despite her better judgment, she couldn't shake the desire to attend Beatrice's party, hoping it might bridge the gap between them. With a heavy heart, she decided to sneak out and see the celebration for herself. When Clara arrived at the grand mansion, her presence immediately caught Beatrice's attention. Instead of welcoming her, Beatrice erupted in anger. "How dare you come here?" Beatrice shouted, her voice dripping with rage. "You're not welcome." Before Clara could respond, Beatrice lashed out, striking her across the face. The sudden act of violence shocked everyone present, and the party came to a halt. Mr. and Mrs. Carter quickly intervened, pulling Beatrice away and reprimanding her. "What is wrong with you, Beatrice?" Mr. Carter demanded. "This behavior is unacceptable." Mrs. Carter hurried to Clara's side, gently wiping her tears and tending to her injuries. "I'm so sorry, dear," she said softly. "You didn't deserve this." Clara, hurt and humiliated, quietly left the mansion and made her way home. When Evelyn learned of the incident, her protective instincts flared. "How dare she lay a hand on you?" Evelyn fumed. "I'm going to speak to her parents right now." Aunt Grace placed a calming hand on Evelyn's arm. "Let's not act in anger," she advised. "Clara needs our love and support right now. We can address this calmly later." Meanwhile, back at the Carter household, Beatrice faced her parents' wrath. "Do you realize how cruel you were today?" Mrs. Carter asked, her voice heavy with disappointment. "You struck someone who only wanted to be your friend." "She doesn't belong here," Beatrice snapped, her arms crossed defiantly. Mr. Carter sighed deeply. "Beatrice, this jealousy and bitterness need to stop. Clara has done nothing to deserve your hatred. You need to reflect on your actions and find a way to change." But Beatrice's stubbornness remained, her heart clouded by insecurity and resentment. She refused to acknowledge her wrongdoing, leaving her parents feeling helpless. That night, Clara lay in bed, her cheeks still sore from the encounter. Tears filled her eyes as she thought about the rejection and discrimination she had faced. Yet amidst the pain, she clung to a small spark of hope. Maybe one day, Clara whispered to herself, she'll realize how much better life can be when you choose kindness. And with that thought, Clara closed her eyes, finding solace in the love of her family and the strength within her heart to keep moving forward. The following Monday, tensions between Clara and Beatrice reached their breaking point. Seething with anger, Beatrice confronted Clara during break time, roughly shoving her and glaring with hostility. "Stay out of my way," Beatrice hissed. Clara, caught off guard, tried to apologize for attending Beatrice's birthday party uninvited. "I didn't mean to upset you," she began, her voice trembling. But Beatrice cut her off with a dismissive wave and stormed away, leaving Clara standing alone, a mix of fear and sadness swirling in her heart. Despite Beatrice's hostility, Clara chose to focus on her studies. As the first term came to an end, her hard work paid off. She emerged as the top student in her class, earning accolades from her teachers. At home, Evelyn and Aunt Grace celebrated Clara's achievement with pride and joy. In contrast, the mood at Beatrice's house was grim. Her report card reflected poor grades, leaving her parents deeply disappointed. "You're too distracted by petty things," Mr. Carter scolded. "Look at Clara. She's excelling because she focuses on her goals." Overwhelmed by shame and frustration, Beatrice fled to her room, her mind filled with regret and bitterness. During the school vacation, tragedy struck Clara's family. Evelyn fell gravely ill and was rushed to the hospital. Aunt Grace, upon receiving the news, acted swiftly, but the doctor's update was alarming. Evelyn needed urgent surgery costing 200,000 naira, a sum they simply couldn't afford. In desperation, Clara decided to seek help from Beatrice's family. With hope in her heart, she approached their house and explained her mother's dire condition. But Beatrice's reaction was cold and cruel. "What are you doing here?" Beatrice snapped, pushing Clara away. "Don't ever come to my house again." Heartbroken, Clara sat outside the gate, tears streaming down her face. She felt a deep sense of despair, unsure of what to do next. Just then, Aunt Grace arrived and found Clara sobbing. After hearing about her plea for help, Aunt Grace immediately took Clara to Mrs. Carter. Moved by their plight, Mrs. Carter didn't hesitate. She accompanied them to the hospital and paid for Evelyn's surgery without a second thought. "Thank you so much," Aunt Grace said, tears of gratitude in her eyes. Clara echoed her thanks, overwhelmed by Mrs. Carter's kindness. Back at the Carter household, Mrs. Carter confronted Beatrice. "How could you turn Clara away when she needed help? Do you realize how heartless that was?" Beatrice lowered her head, unable to meet her mother's gaze. "I didn't think it was that serious," she muttered, guilt creeping into her voice. "You need to reflect on your actions, Beatrice," Mrs. Carter continued. "Compassion and kindness cost nothing, but they mean everything." Beatrice retreated to her room, tears rolling down her cheeks as she grappled with the weight of her behavior. Meanwhile, Evelyn's surgery was a success, and after a few days, she was discharged from the hospital. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Clara and Aunt Grace decided to visit the Carter family to express their thanks. Mrs. Carter welcomed them warmly, but Beatrice refused to leave her room. She couldn't face Clara after everything she had done. "Thank you so much for helping us," Aunt Grace said to Mrs. Carter. "We'll never forget your kindness." "You don't need to thank me," Mrs. Carter replied graciously. "I'm just glad Evelyn is recovering." As Clara and her family left, their hearts were filled with gratitude, but Beatrice remained in her room, wrestling with her guilt and longing for redemption. The days that followed brought a mix of emotions for Beatrice. Her initial defiance gave way to self-reflection. For the first time, she began to question her actions and consider what it might mean to truly change. One quiet evening at Beatrice's house, tragedy struck. Beatrice suddenly collapsed and was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. The news spread quickly, reaching Clara and her family. Overcome with concern, Clara hurried to the hospital, her heart pounding with worry. At the hospital, Clara overheard Mr. and Mrs. Carter speaking in hushed tones just outside a room. Their conversation revealed a shocking secret that sent shivers down Clara's spine. Beatrice was not their biological daughter. She had been adopted as a baby, and now the Carters were desperately searching for a blood donor whose blood type matched hers. Determined to help, Clara ran home and pleaded with her mother. "Mum, we have to do something. Beatrice's life is at risk and they need a blood donor," Clara said, tears streaming down her face. Moved by Clara's compassion, Evelyn agreed to accompany her back to the hospital. When they arrived, the Carters were waiting anxiously, their faces etched with fear and desperation. Without hesitation, Evelyn volunteered to be tested as a potential donor. After a tense wait, the results came back. She was a match. Evelyn didn't think twice before donating her blood to save Beatrice's life. Mr. and Mrs. Carter were overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you so much," Mrs. Carter said, her voice breaking. "We owe you everything." Evelyn smiled warmly. "There's no need to thank me. I just hope Beatrice recovers soon." Despite all the hurtful moments she had endured, Clara stayed by Beatrice's bedside, refusing to leave her alone. Hours later, when Beatrice finally opened her eyes, she was surprised to see Clara sitting there. "Why are you here?" Beatrice asked weakly, her voice barely audible. Clara smiled through her tears. "Because I care, and because you're going to be okay." Clara rushed to inform Mr. and Mrs. Carter that Beatrice had woken up. They hurried to her side and gently explained how Clara and Evelyn had come to her rescue, saving her life with their selflessness. Beatrice was overwhelmed by their kindness, especially Clara's. Guilt weighed heavily on her as she thought about how cruelly she had treated Clara in the past. "I'm so sorry, Clara," Beatrice whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "For everything. I don't deserve your kindness." Clara took her hand and squeezed it gently. "Everyone deserves kindness, Beatrice. Let's move forward together." As tears flowed freely, the two girls embraced, their hearts filled with forgiveness and a renewed sense of hope. When Beatrice was discharged from the hospital days later, Clara was there to walk her out, their bond stronger than ever. They knew this was the start of a new chapter, one defined not by rivalry or resentment, but by friendship and mutual support. As they left the hospital hand in hand, Clara and Beatrice felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were determined to face life's challenges together, uplifted by the strength of their newfound friendship. Walking into the warmth of the sunset, they smiled at each other, knowing that this was only the beginning of a brighter, kinder future, one where compassion and forgiveness would always light their path forward. Clara and Beatrice's friendship flourished, their bond deepening as they spent more time together. They shared laughter, dreams, and secrets, no longer divided by social status or past grievances. One afternoon, as they sat chatting in Beatrice's room, Beatrice voiced a question that had been troubling her since her time in the hospital. "Clara, I've been thinking, why couldn't my parents donate blood for me? Does that mean they're not my biological parents?" Clara's heart sank. She remembered overhearing the Carters' conversation at the hospital but hadn't expected Beatrice to bring it up. Torn between honesty and fear of hurting her friend, Clara hesitated. Beatrice noticed Clara's unease. "You know something, don't you?" she pressed. "Please, Clara, tell me the truth." Unable to meet Beatrice's eyes, Clara fumbled for words but remained silent. Frustrated and hurt by Clara's reluctance, Beatrice stormed out of the room, leaving Clara guilt-ridden. That night, Clara lay awake, grappling with her conscience. She knew she owed Beatrice the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Determined to make amends, Clara decided to tell Beatrice everything the next day. When Clara arrived at Beatrice's house, her heart pounded with apprehension. She found Beatrice in the living room and, with a heavy heart, confessed what she had overheard at the hospital. Beatrice listened, her face a mix of shock and disbelief as the truth unfolded. Feeling betrayed, Beatrice confronted her parents later that evening. After a long silence, Mr. and Mrs. Carter admitted the truth. Beatrice was adopted. They explained how they had longed for a child but couldn't have one of their own, and how adopting Beatrice had brought immeasurable joy into their lives. Overwhelmed by the revelation, Beatrice broke down, grappling with feelings of confusion and abandonment. Through her tears, she begged her parents to help her find her biological family. Although reluctant at first, the Carters agreed, realizing it was time for Beatrice to uncover her roots. The next week, the family traveled to Enugu, the city where Beatrice had been adopted. They contacted Nurse Titi, the midwife who had facilitated the adoption, and anxiously awaited her arrival. When Nurse Titi arrived, she brought with her pieces of a puzzle that had haunted Beatrice for years. She directed them to a family house in the city, where they could inquire about Beatrice's biological father, Mr. Sunday. At the house, the Carters learned that Mr. Sunday had passed away years ago. He had left behind a wife and a daughter who had relocated to another city. The residents of the house provided an address for Beatrice to follow. As they left the family house, Beatrice's mind swirled with questions. Who was her biological mother? Did she have siblings? And most importantly, why had she been given up for adoption? Though the journey had yielded partial answers, it also left new uncertainties. Yet, Beatrice felt comforted knowing she wasn't alone. With her adoptive parents' unwavering support and Clara by her side, she found the strength to continue her search. As they drove back to their hotel, Beatrice looked at Clara and her parents with gratitude. "Thank you for standing by me," she said softly. "No matter what I find, I'm grateful to have you all in my life." Mr. Carter placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll always be here for you, Beatrice. Family isn't just about blood, it's about love." With renewed determination, Beatrice resolved to uncover the rest of her story. The road ahead was uncertain, but she knew that with her loved ones by her side, she could face whatever truths awaited her. And as they left Enugu, the journey toward self-discovery continued, guided by hope and courage. When Beatrice and her parents followed the address given by Nurse Titi, they were surprised to find themselves standing in front of Clara's home. Confusion swept through them, but before they could ask questions, Nurse Titi's eyes filled with recognition as she spotted Evelyn standing at the doorway. "Mama Clara!" Nurse Titi called out, her voice shaking with emotion. Evelyn and Clara approached, bewildered by the unexpected visit. "Is everything okay?" Evelyn asked, concern etched across her face. Tears streaming down her cheeks, Nurse Titi fell to her knees, trembling as she begged for forgiveness. She confessed a dark truth she had carried for years. Evelyn had given birth to twins, but in a moment of greed, Nurse Titi had taken one of the babies, intending to give her to a childless couple. Evelyn froze, her mind racing back to memories of her pregnancy. She had been told she was carrying twins, but awoke from surgery to find only one child in her arms. The shock of the revelation left her breathless. Beatrice, equally overwhelmed, stared at Evelyn. "Does that mean—" "Yes," Nurse Titi whispered, her voice cracking with guilt. "Evelyn is your mother, and Clara is your twin sister." The weight of the truth hit everyone at once. Evelyn pulled Beatrice into a tight embrace, tears flowing as she whispered, "My child, my baby girl." Beatrice sobbed into her mother's arms, her heart filling with a strange mix of pain and joy. Clara, overcome with emotion, joined the embrace, wrapping her arms around both her mother and Beatrice. The three of them cried together, united by the bond of family that had been stolen but was now restored. Mr. and Mrs. Carter stood quietly, their emotions a whirlwind of gratitude and sadness. Mrs. Carter stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Evelyn, thank you for forgiving us. We had no idea. We only knew we were given a beautiful daughter who brought joy into our lives." Evelyn turned to the Carters, her expression warm. "I am grateful for the love and care you gave Beatrice. You will always be her parents too." Moved by Evelyn's grace, Mr. Carter promised to support her family in any way he could. True to his word, the Carters set up a thriving business for Evelyn and secured a new apartment for her and her daughters, ensuring they could live comfortably. Meanwhile, Aunt Grace found love and happiness of her own, marrying a kind man and relocating abroad. Though she would be far away, she remained close to her family, always checking in and offering her unwavering support. As school resumed, Clara and Beatrice walked through the gates together, their bond stronger than ever. The sight of their united front left Sandra and Ruth feeling envious and ashamed. They distanced themselves from Beatrice, but Mercy welcomed her warmly into their circle. Together, the trio formed a close-knit friendship, supporting one another in their studies and personal growth. At home, life flourished as both families, once strangers, became one. Beatrice and Clara cherished their newfound sisterhood, alternating between their homes and spending every moment deepening their bond. Evelyn and the Carters shared holidays, meals, and laughter, proving that love and forgiveness could overcome even the darkest past. As the final chapter of their story unfolded, Clara, Beatrice, and their families looked to the future with hope and optimism. Together, they embarked on a journey defined by love, resilience, and the unbreakable ties of family and friendship. And as they walked into the bright horizon, hand in hand, they knew that no challenge was too great and no wound too deep to heal when hearts were united by love and forgiveness. In Clara's story, we learn that forgiveness and kindness are powerful tools that can mend broken relationships and uncover unexpected blessings. Even when someone causes us pain, showing compassion and letting go of resentment can lead to transformative outcomes. Clara forgave Beatrice for her unkindness, and this forgiveness allowed Beatrice to see the importance of kindness and understanding. Through this journey, they discovered they were long-lost sisters, proving that forgiveness can pave the way for beautiful reunions and unbreakable bonds. Similarly, Evelyn's act of kindness toward Beatrice, even before knowing she was her daughter, demonstrates the profound impact of selflessness. By donating blood to save Beatrice's life, Evelyn not only ensured her well-being, but also united two families that had been separated for years. The story teaches us that kindness and forgiveness are not signs of weakness, but incredible strengths. By choosing to forgive and show compassion, we can heal old wounds, create new connections, and bring light into even the darkest situations. Let this be a reminder to always act with love and understanding, as you never know the blessings that may follow. Thank you for watching this story on AfroTales TV. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and share with friends and family. We have more beautiful stories coming your way, so subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next one.